Go ahead. Be like Kirk Ferenc. Keep thinking the way you're thinking.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download your podcast, the show is always free, and the show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports, they're not sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com. You can get started. At the big conference media day, I asked the dean of the Big Ten if he's had a chance to talk with Coach Riley, since he took those shots at Riley's coaching prowess before the bowl games last year. I was curious, as to why he felt the need, to kind of put Lincoln Riley's name in his mouth. And I touched on it a little bit on yesterday's episode, but I want to touch on it again because it's going to lead to something here. What Coach Friend said when he answered my question, very graciously, by the way. I have not. He hasn't spoken to Coach Riley. It was just a takeaway from a bowl game that they played in a couple of years ago. Drive-by shooting, if you will, which is dangerous. It's a curiosity to me because I know they've got good athletes. We've played them, and they're a tough football team. At least when we played them 5 years ago. My guess is, I know they've taken some steps, and my guess is they're going to be really, we don't play them this year, so that's not our concern. They're going to be a factor in our conference. I'll go out on a limb and make the bold prediction that they'll be there when it's all said and done. So it wasn't like, yeah, you know what, they're going to be in the playoffs. He said they'll make the bowl game. Who doesn't? What Coach Friend doesn't have to guess about anymore is he knew that Coach Riley has already taken steps. He took the first step before the 2023 season even ended. That's when he removed Alex Grinch from his duties as USC's defensive coordinator. And then he went ahead and he put together a staff that literally no one has yet to take a drive-by at. No one's pointed that gun and said, hey, look at USC's defensive coaching staff. It sucks. I haven't read that anywhere. If you got a link, let me know. Pretty much the reactions from everyone has been, that's a really good staff. Followed up with, but does Coach Riley know how to coach a defense? It's a valid question. Look, I have a bunch of Oklahoma fans that watch the show every day. Thank you, by the way. I just want to insert that. They keep saying, hey, we tried to tell you. We saw what his teams look like, and they kept getting worse year after year. Sooner fans, brothers, sisters, Americans from all over the country, including the Big Ten Conference. What you know is Lincoln Riley married to Alex Grinch. That's what you know. You've never seen Coach Riley coach a USC team without Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator. You've never seen him coach an Oklahoma team without Alex Grinch as his chosen defensive coordinator. That's not true. Not all of that is true. You guys did get to see Coach Riley without Alex Grinch for the final 2 games of the regular season last year. You saw the rivalry game that USC lost to UCLA, and you saw the game up in Eugene against Oregon. So when the Trojans had a chance to prepare for Louisville in their bowl game, the Trojans gave up 28 points. Okay. They scored 42 points in that game, if I remember correctly. So USC won that game 42 to 28. And those 42 points came with relative ease. Louisville, top 30 defense going into that contest. USC's defense in last season, they gave up 34 points per game. They gave up 34 points to Utah at home. Fix the defense, give up only 28 points. USC wins that game. The loss at Notre Dame, that was an offensive disaster. Caleb Williams had, 4 turnovers? I'm not saying USC lost because of Caleb Williams. I'm saying that was the game where the wheels just fell off the bus. USC's defense didn't have a chance to help out because USC couldn't hold on the ball on offense. And against Washington at home, USC scored 42 points. Problem is they gave up 52 points. That was the game Grinch was fired following that game. So USC went up to Eugene, and the team actually played a lot better than people anticipated, a lot better than I thought they would. They only gave up 36 points. They scored 27 against an Oregon team that was considered a really good defensive team, right? So by the time UCLA showed up, USC's defense, they were just cooked. They were done. They didn't have the depth. They were worn out. And it kind of showed on the field like they didn't even put forth any effort. Well, their best effort. I'm never going to say nobody. I'm not going to say they quit. I'm just going to say I'd seen better efforts. And I'll leave it there. Now, have they given up 28 points per game? There's at least 2 more wins on their record in 2023. So that's the difference between 7-5 and 9-3. You win the bowl game, you're now 10-3. That's a different perception, right? Right now, everyone knows who Riley is with Grinch. They've never seen him on his own with a new defensive coordinator spouse. So go ahead, Oklahoma fan. Go ahead, Big Ten fan. Keep going on with your drive-bys. Like Coach Ferentz said when he answered the question, drive-by scouting is a dangerous game. Be careful because I want to remind everybody, USC is reloading right now. And they're trying to change the perception. I get it. I try and do my best to put a positive spin on things. I keep it real where I can. And I try and give the other side of the equation. Try and be fair. Try and be balanced. Give you guys something to think about. Jonah Monheim at the Big Conference Media Day explained how USC will change everyone's perception. At the end of the day, any perception about us as a team comes from the product that we put on the field on Saturdays, whether it's something about the offense or something about the defense. At the end of the day, the only way to change the perception is by changing the product on Saturday. Nailed it. Someone might want to let Jonah Monheim tutor UCLA's head coach, Deshaun Foster. I'm kidding. I had to throw it in there. I wanted to give a little time before I started throwing my barbs. Look, there's no one, I don't think anyone's going to question Coach Riley or USC's ability to score. Nobody. You shouldn't. Coach Riley knows how to put together an offense. He knows how to develop quarterbacks. But again, no one has seen USC play defense with Riley as their head coach without Alex Grinch. Again, I take it back. You saw them play a few games at the end of last season. So it's not just Oklahoma fan that's going to have to go through this learning curve. So is the Big Conference. USC is going through their own learning curve. They're going to be playing in, new stadiums. They're going to be taking longer travel times. That's going to be an adjustment for everybody on the conference. It's been said that it's harder to travel east and adjust to the time change. So that obviously means that Wisconsin and Penn State and Nebraska and Rutgers, they're going to have the advantage when they come to Los Angeles, right? I mean, one thing is clear. The weather on the West Coast isn't an issue unless you're comfortable playing in 90 degrees. I don't know if that's what the temperature will be when any of those teams show up. But when they show up in September for an early 12:30 kickoff, 3 o'clock kickoff in the afternoon, they're going to experience that. Trust me. So again, I don't think weather is going to be an issue. If they tried to make it an issue, that USC is going to have to go through that learning curve playing in inclement weather, no. I addressed that on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. The Trojans, they're going to visit the East. The farthest they go is the East Coast when they visit Maryland on October 19th. Okay. They will fly over Michigan. They'll fly over Minnesota to get there. But when they go to Maryland, they will already have played at Michigan and at Minnesota. Over and over and over again, all day long. That same tired trope was on display. In fact, there was one member from the media who kept asking the USC players, about the weather, and how a team from Southern California is going to deal with it when it gets cold. Look, let me flip this around. Let me flip the script. If the Trojan players are expected to know where Purdue University is located, then shouldn't the Big Ten people know where USC plays their games? I literally wanted to ask the local media in Indianapolis if they knew how much the weather's role would play in preparing for USC. The Trojans know what it's like. They have to prepare to play in 110 degrees, whether it's in LA or in the desert down against Arizona or Arizona State. They have to prepare playing in the extreme cold up in the Pacific Northwest if they were playing in Pullman or Corvallis, Eugene, Seattle. Mostly, Boulder, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah. My question is this: how tough will Rutgers be when the clock strikes 11 p.m. Eastern when they're playing USC in late October on the West Coast? Because that's what their time clock's going to be working off of. Again, the weather might not be an issue. Stamina might be. We'll see who has more stamina this season, USC or the teams in the big conference. We'll see who has a tougher time with the learning curve. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into that MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. You're watching Fox Sports or ESPN all day long. You're like me. You want to stay up to date with what's happening. But every now and then, you're turning on the volume, someone's yelling. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports viewing channel, and it's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the yelling. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. And it's streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. For the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I mentioned, I asked Coach Riley about the transfer portal. I touched on it briefly on yesterday's episode. Now we're going to dive into it a little bit. I told you I was going to. I wanted to know if the spring portal presented any challenges to him that surprised him that he might not have been aware of going into it this past spring. Coach Riley, he talked about wanting a couple of guys, but not at the price that was, or at least at the market price that was going on in the spring transfer portal window. So this is what he said. Again, he said he talked about wanting a couple of guys, but not at the price. Well, the thing about both of them, maybe the spring one more than anything, is you don't know what's going to be in there. I think the fall one has been a little bit more predictable, right? That like after guys' seasons, more people are going to move. You know what to expect is what he was trying to say. You have a little bit more of confidence, maybe. You don't know specifically, but you have a decent feel of generally what's going to be in there. Spring, it's a new deal, right? And so I think, honestly, a lot of the talent level in there in the spring was maybe even a little bit less than what it was than the year before. I didn't feel as much high quality movement. And I think at that point, I think you're really conscious about, teams already starting to be formed, and you got to be really conscious. End quote. I believe what Coach Riley was saying is there wasn't, well, he said it in just differently. There weren't any difference makers, at least at the price that was being asked. And as the prospect pool kept shrinking during the spring, so did the staff, at least his staff's willingness to, kind of take a chance on, just spending money and bringing in an expensive body. That was the bottom line. That's what it came down to. He continued, quote, I think of bringing somebody in that late that you're worried about, how are they going to fit in the locker room within the culture and what you're trying to build? We ran into a couple of players that we felt like, we have the talent to be able to help us, but that gave us some reservations on the other part of it, what I was just talking about. He's talking about the culture inside the locker room, the politics of, let's be frank, who's going to be the highest paid defensive lineman in the locker room? I'm going to leave that one alone right there. We talked about it. Bear Alexander, he wasn't a full participant during the spring. Let's just leave it alone. He looks like he's ready to go. I hope so. So, Coach Riley, he concluded by saying, I'm excited about the guys we added. We're not completely done yet. Okay. That last line, I mentioned it again on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC when I did my recap from USC's day at B1G Conference Media Day. Here is another reason why you should be making Locked on USC your news and notes channel for everything USC. Why you're tuning in every day. Your first listen. Remember when I said this yesterday? As far as we're not done yet. And I said, if it's not Gabriel Lightfoot, the defensive lineman from Fresno State, I said, there's a mammoth offensive lineman from Hanck Jr College in Santa Maria. I said, and I also said, I'm not in the boat that I don't think USC needs another interior offensive lineman because that's a position that I think most people project him at. 6'5", 355 pounds. I said, I looked at his footwork. It's pretty good. I think he can fill a role. Not on the offensive line, on the defensive line. So I ended it with stay tuned, right? I'm glad you stayed tuned in. Before I finished, USC added Erwin Taomi. Now, you got fall camp. It's starting in about, a week? In fact, I will tell you right now, USC opens fall camp August 2nd. Yep, I'll be there. Cannot wait. Woohoo! Now, they are bringing in 6'5", 355-pound Erwin Taomi. He's checking in. He's checking off one of the holes that needed to be filled on the roster. The question is, which side of the ball is he going to help the team most on? This is what he said. After playing on offense and defense at St. Joseph High School in Santa Maria, Erwin did some of the same things at Hancock last year in a different way. He said, I played my first 5 games at defensive tackle. Then I was moved to offensive tackle. Okay. So that's the last thing USC saw. Well, they know they can play both. We know, I believe USC has plenty of interior offensive line. We know they would love to have some depth help at the offensive tackle position, specifically on that right side. Erwin could maybe fill that role. You've got Mason Murphy, which Coach Riley was emphatic, cannot wait to see how he plays this year. I'm going to talk about that on another episode of Locked on USC. There was a lot to take away. Really high on Mason Murphy. In fact, Mason's taken a big jump since spring. Anyways, behind Mason Murphy, you have Tobias Raymond. So you've got Mason Murphy, redshirt junior, Tobias Raymond, redshirt freshman. That's kind of it. Now you can bring in an older guy who's got a little bit of experience playing at the JC level. I have a feeling you're going to see this young man playing on the defensive side of the ball as a depth piece, playing inside. And with that size, why not? 6'5", 355 pounds. Yeah. Remember, USC was looking at, what was his name? Derek Harmon from Michigan State. Pretty much that same size. Now, I'm just reading between the tea leaves. Tell me what you think. Hit me up. You know where to find me. If you're watching on YouTube, use that comment section. And if you haven't become a subscriber yet, why not? Click that red subscribe button. Quick, it's easy, it's free. Smash that thumbs up. You're the Hulk. And do not miss that bell notification button. That way you don't miss an episode and you get all this news and notes and you're up to date whenever you need to be. All right. It's Friday's episode of Locked on USC. You know what that means, right? My Friday Rant. That's coming up next. I love sports. I love USC football. I love USC basketball. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. If they could play 24/7, 365, I'm in heaven. But you know what? The playoffs, they're done. We're in the middle of Major League Baseball season right now. And the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus. And they do that daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/locked on and start making the most out of the summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. It's Friday's Rant. It's that time. I'm going to kind of go all over the place. I'm going to be rambling here a little bit. Just going to throw spaghetti on the wall. Let's see what sticks, right? One of the things that Coach Riley spoke about at the big conference media days, I almost said Pac-12. Got to get that out of the system. He talked about scheduling for championships. Yeah. And it brought to the forefront is the USC Notre Dame rivalry. Was that series in danger? What I said on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC, over my dead body. Coach Riley sees the game as an obstacle. And he used the SEC and Alabama as an example. Quote, Bama was ahead of the curve for years, I thought, on how they scheduled in the non-conference. They would occasionally hit the marquee non-conference game. Then they would play two other not very good teams. They play one late, so they essentially got a little bit of a bye late in the season. They didn't schedule for their fans. They scheduled to win championships. My hope is we can do the best thing, schedule to win championships that include a rivalry game for all that comes with that and all that it means. But if you get in those positions, you've got to make a decision on what the priority is. It's not an easy answer, end quote. That was his full answer. Coach Riley's right. The main goal at this level in today's college football world of billions of dollars, you've got to win. It's winning national championships. However, this is kind of coming on the heels of, those reports that USC wanted to get out of this game against LSU, which I'm glad that didn't happen. And I don't know what to believe there. Plus, the USC and Ole Miss dropped their series against each other. And now you're discussing avoiding difficult games in order to, get after a championship. That's going to get you more attention, but that's not the type of attention you want. Not when you got the Paul Feinbaums of the world out there just looking to pull an arrow out of his quiver. Now, with that said, Coach Riley did say he would love to continue the annual Notre Dame rivalry and keep it on the schedule. He did say that. What I don't like about this line of thought is, again, it's giving fuel to the fire that Coach Riley He wants to avoid tough games. No, Coach Riley ducked out of the SEC. He didn't want the LSU game. The Ole Miss series was canceled. By the way, the women of Troy, they're going to play Ole Miss in basketball in Paris, France. Whatever. This is one of those scenarios where I would encourage Coach Riley. I have to practice this myself daily on the show. Use your filter. Before the words leave your mouth, use the filter. This needs to be exercised, right? What I'm saying is not every thought that comes into your head needs to be shared. I wouldn't have shared that thought if I was Coach Riley. That's just me. And then there was this other thing that Coach talked about. And I don't know if it came across as complaining, but he put USC's family business in the front yard. Kind of like the car up on blocks, the wheels are off. You know what I'm talking about. The redneck, they put their couch on their front lawn. They go out to Walmart, get one of those cheap wading pools that they stick their feet in to stay cool in during the summer. Yeah, it was that type of moment. Coach Riley was asked if he's frustrated with USC's path forward since, he's taken over the program. And let me read you the quote. We're playing catch up. We're playing catch up in facilities. We're playing catch up in NIL. We've been playing catch up in resources within the program. We've been playing catch up in damn near every way that you can think of. But when we catch up and when we are going to catch up, that's when things that this place has that others don't start to show up again. And it's coming. I don't know about you, but there was a hint of defensiveness in there. But you know what? It was definitely shrouded in truth. All those things that Coach said, completely true. I just don't think he needed to say them. Not in that venue. Find the filter. Use different words. Find Miller Moss, media training. There's a way to answer the question without offending anybody, including your own fan base. Look, I'm still even trying to figure out how USC slipped into poverty, because that's the way Coach Riley described the situation that he inherited. He did inherit a bad situation, but it's not like USC was financially poor. They weren't. They never were. They kind of just turned into a Howard Hughes recluse. I guess that's maybe the best way to describe it. No one really knew what was going on. And then those few times publicly that you saw what was happening, everyone was going, what in the hell happened to USC? Howard Hughes' hair got long, he got dirty, fingernails. He turned into a really gross person despite how much money he had. So I think people are still wondering what's going on with USC. Again, I appreciate Coach Riley's candor, and I think he just got a little bit too candid right there. Here's something else. I asked Coach Riley about more media access for practice. Just a reminder again, starts August 2nd. There will be another local media day for USC. That's July 31st. Next Wednesday, I'll be there. Anyways, like 46 players in the entire coaching staff. So lots of stuff to talk about coming up. We're almost there. Football season's right around the corner. Can you feel it? I can't. I'm so excited. But last note before we get out of here. As I mentioned, I talked to Coach Riley about getting more media access. Coach, take note. Ohio State, they're giving access to their fans for 4 practices. They're charging $50 a pop. All right. Why not, right? But Coach Riley gave the answer I anticipated. I think this would be a good opportunity, though. Let's copy what Ohio State's doing. Doesn't have to be 4 times. Do it twice. Do it for the fans. And what you can do, you can start passing the tithing plate around when everybody walks through Goo Gate. Yeah. If Ohio State's charging their fans $50, USC, you could do it. I'll bet you can raise some money. Look, it's not going to pay for a player this year, but every little bit counts. All right, that's my Friday rant. That's this episode of Locked on USC. I'll be back again next week with 5 more. There's so much to cover. There's so much to talk about. Can you believe it? USC versus LSU. If you're watching this episode of Locked on USC, there's 37 more days until kickoff. All right. Until the next episode of Locked on USC, everyone, you know what to do.